In the dream, baby. Just watching all that money blow away right now.
Markets are a little rocky today.
Yeah, no, it's looking pretty bloody over there in the equities. But it is what it is. It is what it is.
It cracks me up when I read a headline that says investors spooked, Dow drops, blah blah blah, because they think the Powell wants to put us into a recession. It's like, well, no fucking duh.
I think the problem is he keeps saying
it take you to figure out what they're trying to do.
Well, no one's ever said the smartest knives in a drawer are on Wall Street. Okay. So this is all to Wall Street. I mean, it's like he keeps saying, cut the shit out, shut this shit down. And they keep going, no, it's the end. We're going to pivot and we're going to start cutting. I mean, that's just the most insane thing I've ever heard. Yeah. He's just putting the hammer down right now. He's going to break that speculative impulse on Wall Street. And that's what he's trying to break.
And the other side of it is if he didn't, they would be fucking bitching and moaning that he didn't go far enough. I have zero expertise to call this shit, but
it's hard, dude. It's not like everybody's just guessing. There is no firm. You cannot predict the future with certainty.
Yeah. So the president of the Shaun fan club has said it's Happy Shaun Day, Shizzy. So
all right, Shizzy.
Let's add the amazing Shaun, who I think is still up in the woods, up in the mountains, being cold. Is that correct? Are you still up there?
He looks indoors to me.
No. I'm here in sunny Dublin. Well, it's not sunny, but
all right.
But escape from the mountains.
All right. Oh, I'm glad you survived. Was it nice?
Yeah, it's good. We just got some work going on out there, man, and got some planning permission and all this kind of legal bullshit I'm no good at. Needs to be done.
Sounds like fun.
Oh yeah, real estate. Always fun.
Sounds like a blast. Sounds like a blast. Well, Shaun, there's a lot of shit going on. I don't know if you want to talk about the market at all first, but when you and I had a little discussion that started up about CZ previously and then on Twitter the other day. So I know we were going to talk about Binance and CZ. But you have any thoughts about anything that's going on currently in the market, or you want to just jump right in?
I mean, to me, nothing's changed.
Right.
I mean, again, if you zoom out, yeah, we go down, sideways up a little bit. We go down, sideways up a little bit. The market is, TradFi is playing chicken with JPOW. There's only one winner there, and it's not the market. So it's kind of, look, I don't think anybody can again, not advice, but I think anybody looking to think the market bottoms before Q1 next year, before the end of Q1 next year, is being optimistic. And I think, look, you'll know the market's bottom when unemployment becomes a problem, because they're going to drive this. The only way they can really beat inflation is to have unemployment.
Right.
So I think that what I'll be looking for is which is again nasty, but the charts they want. I'll be looking for unemployment to rise significantly. It was interesting to see JPOW, target 4.6%. Was a number he mentioned yesterday. Personally, I think it'll go higher, but I think the bottom of the market is in only after we see an unemployment problem.
Right. Because that's obviously the goal, is to reduce spending and slow everybody down, and then have people.
Well, everybody feels, there's a wealth effect from the market. So, if you feel that your house or your 401ks or whatever equities you're holding are good, that there is a certain wealth effect, in terms of spending. Obviously, a lot of that has gone down now because, homes are beginning to break. But again, my view, I trade lines on a chart. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do think that we ain't going to see the bottom until we have an unemployment issue. In which case, I think the Fed will be forced to pause and or pivot.
Great. Yeah. From what I understand, I believe that last week my genius call has made you a nice little sum of money over the last week. And it's entirely my call, isn't it?
It's yours. I'll be the text in the post out.
How much work have you had to do to save that thing?
To be honest, I actually haven't been around most of the week, but
oh, that's right.
I think I closed it about half an hour ago, so that's a week-long messing around trade, doing my shit, and we ended up at about 5.5 Bitcoins up. So
nice.
Again, my style of trading, being wrong is okay.
That's awesome, dude. What a great example, though, man. And I don't want to encourage everybody that hasn't watched last week's show. I'm telling you, I have not had it out of my head for more than an hour since last week. I've been thinking about it. I've been thinking about how I approach things. You know, that was a great example of, you know, me just saying up or down and your system managing risk, turning it into profit. And
yeah, I mean, the market went up, I think, quite a reasonable amount since. And again, I'm just doing my, you know, position sizing, you know, aggressive DCAing, and you know what was clearly a bad trade, Brad, fucking terrible trade. Still printed a profit. Yeah. So.
That's beautiful. I think that's a brilliant example of your system, and that's I love that. Absolutely love that you can do that. So,
well, again, what was the trade? What was the trade, everybody?
No, you remember he was.
Brad called live. I saw. Well, this is not fair to Brad. I just said because I did ask you, Joe, but you were dealing with children.
Gone. Yeah.
Which is normal. I just asked Brad to call a trade up or down, and Brad called down. Obviously, the market immediately pumped. But that was kind of my whole point. The method I trade is so risk-free that I don't give a shit. Yeah. I can sit here and I can go long, short. It doesn't matter. I mean, obviously, I do lines on charts. I do care. Ultimately, I would have made more money if Brad had said long, but it didn't matter to me because of the way I'm managing my risk and what the contract gives me in terms of edge. That was all.
Well, so that was almost a 50% gain in a week, basically.
It was 5.5 Bitcoins. I think it was it was a 200K position to start with. So
yeah. So about 95 grand at current price. That's awesome.
Are we looking for a show sponsor?
What if I had called up, that might be a possibility.
In the Guinness market over Christmas and New Year.
That was awesome. That's fun.
That's good, man. Good stuff.
It's an awesome example of why the strategy of managing risk is so important, and the way you do it is so important. So again, I encourage everyone to go back and read that.
Again, you know, I don't want to shill my own method. It's you know, greasy engineer method. But I think that the fundamental point is that there are contracts with edges out there that make this easier, and ultimately, you know, position size and so on, and that price is probably a lot more random than people think. Anyway, look, it's the way it's worked for me. I know it's worked for others, and something for people to think about when they're trading. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, you know, from my perspective, obviously we have limits here in the US. I can't go into BitMEX and trade. But there are, you know, Binance US has no fees right now on 4 Bitcoin pairs and 4 ETH pairs. Right. Yep. So you can get a little bit of that edge. You're not going to get paid to do it like a market maker, but you can actually, you know, fractionalize down the size of your take profits and do some similar things. Nothing as strong as what you're doing, but there's some opportunities, right? And everybody can adjust to kind of how you manage risk to how they like to trade. And I think that makes sense.
And very nice of you to mention Binance.
Yeah, there you go. Because that's a segue.
Softball.
Wait, real quickly, Niblet says, as the nature of work changes, the old metrics become irrelevant. So what unemployment even means isn't the same. So how come markets pivot on this beyond our psychology? I think that it's just the nature of what we expect, right? I mean, for a very long time when this happens, you know, slowing the economy is important. And so the markets celebrate unemployment. It's just,
and fundamentally, the Fed does have two mandates, which is price stability, i.e., inflation, and employment.
Right.
And they're almost counter things.
Conflict.
Yeah. So you kind of need to see one side of the equation break before you get something on the other side.
Yeah, when it's extreme either way. Absolutely. All right, Shaun.
Yeah.
So we were having a discussion going on, and you know, my role here, I hopefully will not be to defend CZ or Binance, but I know you have some very strong feelings about Binance and CZ, and so rather than put words in your mouth, I'm going to let you kind of give us your thoughts on that exchange and on that business and on how CZ runs it. And I'm going to just let you just run with it. If you want me to open up any of those articles we were talking about earlier, I'm happy to do that as well.
No, so first of all, I did about 45 minutes before I got caught up, because there's so much about this that stinks to high heavens, that I could just go off on a tirade, but which I'm going to anyway. But feel free to stop me at any point.
No, this is too much fun.
There's way too much out there, but I start with some fundamental things that I laugh at when I'm out on Twitter, which is, if Binance fails, it's the end of crypto. I've never heard such utter bullshit in my life. I would say that if Binance fails, it's personally, I think, necessary. It's going to happen, whether today, tomorrow, in 3 years, I don't care. And it's a net positive for crypto. So one of the narratives that's out there is that everybody footing Binance is, trying to bring around the crypto apocalypse. It's just not true. You can believe, and again, stop me at any time if you disagree.
Well, do you think that if Binance had a same kind of a collapse as FTX, that it would still have a pretty significant impact on the overall market?
I mean, it would have an impact on price.
Yeah. Okay,
so,
but
we're in a bear market. I'd prefer to get this shit flushed down the toilet in a bear market than when we're bull.
Yeah, it makes sense.
But like to this kind of thing, it'll be the end of crypto for a decade, is just horseshit. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. And again, it's part of people who, like, there's two sets of anti-CZ people. I like to consider myself in set one, which is I've been watching CZ and Binance. I think 2017 was the first time they set up their shitcoin casino, and I think he's so obviously done everything bad for the space that I have no problem calling. I'm also going to say here, by the way, that obviously these are not the views of the show or yourself and Joe. And if anything I'm about to say is libelous, CZ or Binance can contact me via DM. I'll give them my name and a home address. They can serve me, and I'd be fucking delighted to see them in court to defend my state.
You're ready for those depositions.
And I would love to do it. Bring it on, guys. Pick a court. Not a court in, UK or Ireland. I fucking hate traveling. So serve me, dudes, if anything. So the second narrative, which I find fucking hilarious, is that CZ has been so good for the space. And I go, okay, CZ shills, just give me one example. Just one. And because there isn't one where CZ did anything good for the space that wasn't good for CZ. None,
sure.
Zero, fucking nada. Okay?
Right.
So, people talk about this rescue insurance fund. I don't know how many dollars it spent. Maybe somebody should check that,
How many dollars the SAFU fund has spent?
No, this, when he'd finished starting the bank run on FTX.
I know.
I'm not defending FTX here.
Yeah.
These things don't equate. Just because I call CZ out for starting the bank run on FTX, which he clearly did. There's no question about that. Doesn't mean that I think Sam should be allowed to live in his $120 million penthouse in the Bahamas. No, he should be in a fucking cell in deepest darkest Iraq, as far as I'm concerned. Okay, but that equally doesn't mean that what CZ did was good. So again, after that, he said, there was some
I know what you're
crypto
talking about.
rescue
Yeah,
fund, and
it's
sure,
just an investment fund.
Yeah, I curious to see how that's going and how many dollars they've spent. But
No idea.
Is that one wallet, Brad? Is that one wallet, that rescue fund?
I have no idea.
I think you can put it down as one tweet. That's the extent of it today. Right? And I'm sure that he will manage to. I'm pretty sure he'll manage to find some projects to gang rape along the way with some rescue investment, but that's over to him. Okay, so my position on this starts as CZ is a bad actor, has always been a bad actor, and is demonstrably a bad actor. Okay. So, and I'm going to back this up with a bit of history. And again, this was just 15, 20 minutes on the internet, because there's so much bullshit that he's conducted over the years that I just can't remember it all. And that could be just early onset Alzheimer's or something, but I mostly try to ignore him. But let's go through it, okay? So out of thin air, the wonderful CZ creates his own money, which we call BNB, yeah?
Yeah.
Which represents the vast majority of his personal wealth, if we are to believe a word he says in the media. And here's the funny thing, the tokenomics of it are rather interesting. And if somebody does a research into it, it's a burn model, yeah?
Right.
Now, there's very few people who will remember this, but it's public knowledge of there were times they've forgotten to burn a couple of $100 million. Okay. This is, again, demonstrable fact.
On the schedule, you mean? Because they have like a schedule.
Yeah, they actually just said, oh, look, we forgot to burn that $170 million of BNB. And strangely enough, the market timing of it was rather good for BNB and his personal wealth and creation. So, you can't, what I'm trying to demonstrate here with all of this, there's a consistency of behavior here, which people, and everybody's going to be going foot. Look, there's nothing I'm saying here that is either untrue, unprovable, or undocumented. And if there is, hey, I'm happy to go to court and defend my views here.
Isn't it in his best interest to do the burn? Doesn't that decrease supply and increase the value of his holdings?
Absolutely. But if you're a trader, there's good times and bad times to decrease supply. Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
And, sometimes they're a little bit forgetful when it wouldn't suit them.
Gotcha. Okay.
Like, personally, I'm the same. I go, oh, look, there's 100 and 200 million. Fuck it, it's Tuesday. I forgot about it. Yeah? I mean, that's just the way I am. Yeah. Not. Okay. So again, I want to go through a couple of things here. Okay. He then, to give this absolute personal private money some value, okay, he goes and creates a ripoff of Ethereum, BSC or Binance Chain, or whatever one you call it. So a couple of facts again on Binance Chain that I know a lot of people love. First, it is the singularly most abused chain by fraudsters, criminals. Yeah. More money is stolen from retail on Binance Chain than any other chain.
Sure.
Okay. There's an average of 15 new scams an hour on it. Okay, and you can go decentralization. You go, yeah, it's 21 validators. To put that into some context, Solana has 3,400.
Sure.
So it's
definitely not decentralized.
It's definitely not even worth doing. So again, when my view of altcoins is they're experiments. In personal opinion, most of the experiments don't need to be run. But they're experiments. But there's nothing going on here that is in any way advancing anything other than CZ's net worth. There's nothing interesting. It's an EMV chain. There's absolutely nothing other than it just happens to be the playground, like Binance, where retail lose the most money at an astronomical scale. So both on his shitcoin casino and on his private chain with his private money. Money is being stolen, defrauded constantly at a level that is shocking, truly shocking. Yes. He creates this, allows it to happen, and there has never been any reason for the chain. None, zero, nada. Whatever my views on S, they started trying something unique, unnecessary in my opinion, but unique, and at least there's some value to the Ethereum experiments. There's absolutely no value to this other than to CZ out there. So that's kind of my view on it. There's a consistent history of deception from CZ. Okay, so you can go, and again, all of this is public knowledge. So if you look at what happened with the Indian exchange, Warex, they announced, Binance announced that they bought it. Okay, there was some kind of regulatory problems, and then Binance were, oh, no, we didn't actually buy it, despite the fact CZ and the Indian guys appear in a picture, and it's announced by them. That's just straight. You have two choices here. You bought it, and you're lying at the end saying you didn't buy it, or you didn't buy it and you're lying at the beginning saying you did buy it.
Or the deal fell apart because the exchange didn't have proper data information.
And why announce that you've actually completed the purchase?
I have no idea. I don't know the details of what they announced versus what they didn't announce.
The details are interesting.
All right.
Okay. Something else that the people brush over. So our good friend and philanthropist will come to his philanthropy very soon. Okay. Worked with the FSB. Okay, to provide details on people who had donated to the Russian opposition leader. That happened earlier this year. Okay, this is not the actions of a good person. Again, verifiable, provable, out there. Now, do you want this scumbag involved in this space?
That's one I hadn't heard about before. That's new.
Yeah, I hadn't heard it either. I always suspect like Chinese security services in there. I didn't think FSB was in there.
Yeah, so the Russian opposition leader, Alex, somebody or
Navalny, yeah.
He was in jail, had some personal crypto stuff. And of course, under, with working with FSB or whatever Russian. And again, the information for that's out there. Again, CZ, I'm here. You're more than welcome to serve me with papers if I'm telling any lies here. And I'll be happy to defend myself and put my stack at risk to do that. No problems at all. Yeah.
Yeah.
He did $8 billion of business with Iran during sanctions. Again, provable fact. Okay. And his exchange has washed billions of dollars for Iran, North Korea, and so on and so on. Again, I have two views on this. Number one, I'm a Bitcoin maxi going, do whatever you want, yeah? However, there is a certain level of deception about how they do this stuff. So I'm not into any of this. So the point I'm making is I don't agree with sanctions full stop, but the sanctions are there. And I think this is what CZ is ultimately going to end up in an 8x4 over, and the sooner the better, as far as I'm concerned. And I seriously mean that, Jack.
But in that case, I think we have similar viewpoints on sanctions. I think there are sanctions that, for me personally, there are sanctions that are viable against governments about big players, people who are committing crimes or doing things to harm people, that may be in some way justified. But blanket sanctions for an entire country and citizens of that country, to me, are unnecessary and not helpful.
Which blanket sanction are you talking about?
Are we going to make CZ a hero here for $8 billion?
No.
Of terrorist funding. I mean, that's what it is. It's terrorist funding. No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Again, I have a personal example of somebody from Iran that I would love to do business with, but I cannot, right? And for me, that's the example I'm trying to give. is that that blanket sanctions against an entire people are infringements on liberty, I think, that are ridiculous. That's my point.
And Brad, I agree with you 100% on that. And by the way, I actually have quite a few Iranian friends. Solid people, love them, like genuinely great people.
Yeah.
But that doesn't gloss. This is not, again, this narrative CZ is doing good. So $8 billion of trade with Iran during sanctions was really for the people. Bullshit. He's a scam.
Oh, no. I'm not saying he's doing it for the people.
He deserves to be in an 8x4 for that.
Yeah, I'm not saying he was doing it for the people. I have no idea what those transactions were. I'm sure it'll come out when he's indicted. But my feeling is in general that those kinds of sanctions are not great.
So, okay, wait, quick question. So you're against all the sanctions on Russia then?
I'm against sanctions that harm Russian people that are not involved in funding Russian.
Well, what sanctions are going on in Iran against innocent people that aren't doing anything? I don't know about that.
I just gave you an example. I can't do business with an Iranian citizen, a financial transaction with an Iranian citizen.
Because
there's a blanket
Revolutionary Guard Front company. That's why.
What?
Those are potential Revolutionary Guard Front companies. That's their strategy, dude.
Yeah, so, but this guy is not a potentially Revolutionary Guard Front company.
But he's in the financial services with an exchange. If I think I know what you're talking about.
Are you talking about my example, or are you talking about CZ, dude? I'm talking about the example.
I'm talking about your example.
My example is not
Masood?
Yeah, my example is not somebody who fucking is a Revolutionary Guard Front. My example is a guy who's doing business. So what you're saying is it's okay to blanket tar everyone in a country as funding terrorism because
let's cut to the chase. That guy has an exchange, okay? And I know who you're talking about. I'm not going to say his name because he's a good guy, but he's swapping financial assets. So the question is, do internal Iranian bad actors use those exchanges to launder money and to service networks outside of Iran? And I'm not saying he does. I'm saying that's why the blanket is on the financial services firms. You can still communicate with Iranian people. There's nothing wrong with that.
I can communicate with Iranian people, but I can't do business with Iranian people.
Right. Financial services thing.
Like, so if I wanted to buy fucking bread from a bread manufacturer in Iran, I can't. Because
you can't do that.
The goal is to punish everyone in Iran, right?
Who controls Iran
with these sanctions?
No, it's not. It's not what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to punish the people in power. This is a constant debate in sanctions about how you don't, they suck all the wealth out of the underclass, and that's why the sanctions are harder to hit the leadership. The point is, we can have this discussion later, but you're wrong. And so the point is with CZ is that he's targeting. No, the point is that, hey, the whole world says there's sanctions on him, and you disagree with it.
I disagree with the blanket sanctions on individual humans in countries. Yes.
I don't know if that's an accurate statement. I don't think there's a blanket sanction on all humans in Iran. I don't think there is.
I can't do business with people in Iran, Joe.
Well, who does? People that cheat, like CZ and these other sanctions evaders.
But my point is, you shouldn't look. There are two goals with the sanctions. The first is to punish the people at the top. That's where they should be targeted. The second is to starve out the people at the bottom so they overthrow the people at the top. And those are the two goals of sanctions. So anyway, let's get back to the main point.
No, that's a very simplistic, but yeah, let's get back. We'll debate this another time, Brad.
Okay, because you're wrong.
No, you are, dude. I know who you worked with. I know the person, dude. And I know why that's an exception.
It's not an exception. It's all of them. I can't do business with Iranian.
Well, what would you do? Which one would you do business with? To do what? You're going to go buy bread?
Whatever that is, I should be able to. And they should be able to if they're not part of funding terrorists. That's the point. Anyway, go ahead, Shaun.
And if wishes are horses, beggars can ride. Yes.
But by the way, just going to say, I've been in Tehran when it was snowing. It's a fucking great town. Anyway.
We've had a lot of family in Iran in the past, too, back in the 70s and 80s. So, yeah, it's a beautiful place. I mean, it's really, until it went downhill, of course.
So, by the way, Euphoric says Kazakhstan are deploying their CDBC on BNB. Not saying that justifies the whole chain, but it's credible utility. Yeah, but I have strong negative opinions about CBDCs, but anyway, go ahead, Shaun.
Yeah, I can add that into that's news. No,
that's
again,
actually strengthening Shaun's position.
Well, strengthening my views. Now let's go into the SPF-like behavior. Okay, so first of all, 200 million stake in Forbes, 500 million in Twitter. Yeah, this is, billionaires do these for reasons. You can make up your own reasons. And he has pledged to give away 99% of his wealth. This is just, we've all seen the movie. Yeah. I'm a good guy bullshit. Yeah. Why say it? Shut up and do it. And as for buying stakes in big influential media networks, that speaks itself. Now let's go again, something else very FTX-like. In fact, even worse than FTX, which is an unknown and unknowable corporate structure. Okay. For example, does anybody know what the holding company for Binance is for all of these $62 billion in assets? How many companies? Where are they fucking buried? Okay. What parts of the world? So we use this term Binance as if it's one thing, Binance has, and you go, oh, sure, cool. Where's the overall holding company?
Nobody knows.
Well, strange enough, before he took the stake in Forbes, they did rather an interesting analysis of the Binance corporate structure. And again, like most offshore unregulated exchanges, they're playing territorial arbitrage by jumping around from one place to the other to pick the best thing. So again, I come back and go, look, there is no Binance. Okay, there's a bunch of dark gray entities buried in places around the world that in essence makes it unauditable. Yeah. Now you can go, there's reasons for this. And I'm going, yeah, but do you want to know there's lots of other crypto exchanges that don't do this? The only one I can think of that did was FTX. So
of all the exchanges, you mean that are playing the gray area game?
No, the ones that have, tens and hundreds of entities buried around the world.
Right.
Okay. And going, well, if there is no Binance, where is the $62 billion of assets distributed?
Right. Who holds it? Who owns it? Right.
Decent question. Yeah. And
it is a decent question.
How do we know the liabilities?
Do you know them, Shaun? Is that what you said?
I've got pages of this shit, but
okay, good.
There's a repeated pattern of behavior here that's actually only got worse recently. Yeah. But by which I mean, it is not complicated. And we discussed this last week about there are exchanges equally offshore, okay, who are, able quite simply to do proof of reserves and liabilities. Yeah. Okay. Yep. What CZ does put under pressure is hires Mazars, which is a blue chip name, tells them what to do in an incredibly limited scope to say how many Bitcoins they have. Now, think about this for a minute, okay, and go, he's not a fucking idiot, yeah? Okay.
Right.
Why? He knows that's bullshit. Okay, why does he take this approach? It's literally everybody who's got a brain in the space goes. They say they hire Mazars thinking somehow, but Mazars equally come out and say there isn't enough. Mazars even come out and said, look, we don't know what the holding company is. We've just followed this method provided to us that allows us to demonstrate how much Bitcoin are in Binance, whatever the fuck Binance is, wallets are. Yeah.
Right. They're just looking at a wallet and counting Bitcoin.
Yeah, which is proof of nothing. Yeah. Other than proof of deception in my mind, because he knows this is insufficient. Like you don't, why would you engage somebody in doing this? This is just marketing bullshit.
Right.
No meaning, literally has no meaning. So you've got,
because you're not getting to the full audit of everything that's on the books for Binance. So it's irrelevant to know that they have.
I'm more interested in their liabilities. Yeah.
Sure,
yeah.
exactly.
No, look, this is what we talked about yesterday. He puts that out, and people, like, I even heard some of other people on Twitter. I don't even think I heard Brad saying it, that, everybody thinks that that's like a treasury or working capital. It's not. It's the other side of the equation has $62 billion in liabilities, at least, if that's customer money. That's the deceit. But most people are too stupid to friggin' know that or to think of it.
I got into a minor debate with somebody on Twitter. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. Yeah. It's not a lot of money if there's $80 billion of customer deposits, though.
Right.
It's a lot of money if there's $20 billion. The point is, what thought process is going into engaging Mazars in such a limited, controlled way that answers no questions? So again, I come back to this consistency of behavior. And then, shockingly, even I was shocked by this. On a Spaces yesterday, okay, CZ comes out and discourages people controlling their own wallet by saying 99% of you will lose your keys.
Well, actually, I listened to it, and he didn't explicitly say that. But basically what he said was managing wallets and keys is difficult for people that don't understand the concepts. And I would assume that more people have lost their funds from mismanaging keys than have lost it from keeping it on centralized exchanges and being hacked.
I would suggest that's complete. Again, Brad,
I don't think he has any data to back it up.
There are fundamental principles here that he is effectively discouraging self-ownership. I'm sorry, dude. The consistency, pattern of behavior over years. Okay, this is a bad actor.
I get what you're saying. I just want to make sure that people know that prior to that, he talked a lot about self-custody. And he also talked about their trust wallet, which has no mechanism for earning funds for Binance. So I just want you to be aware that the quote in the article that you saw was actually incorrect from what I heard when I was listening to it in my car. So
I did listen to it, but yeah,
your point is valid. And
he's discouraging people.
Exactly. Right. What he said was, if you don't understand how to manage your wallet, manage a wallet, that you may be safer on an exchange. And you're right. That is discouraging people from self-managing, which we should not be doing. We should be encouraging
in the middle
people
of a bank run on his own shitcoin casino.
Correct. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right on that. Absolutely. Right.
I'll try to look. As far as I'm concerned, he's been net negative for the space since day one. He's a fucking grifter, and the sooner that he ends up out of the space, if that's in an 8x4, I don't care. There is nothing positive about this guy's engagement in this space. Never has been, isn't now, never will be in the future. I don't know if Binance is solvent or not. Here's the fundamental point. He's actually in two things. He's in this recent point where he's been put under the spotlight. He's done the two things in crypto you shouldn't do, which is one, discourage self-custody, and two, go, trust me, bro. When the whole premise of the industry is verify, don't trust, he can verify. Everybody else can. What do we need to say here? Yeah, trust me, bro. Do you want to know CZ? No, I don't think I fucking will. Mind you, I've never had more than $200 on Binance, so it's just a disgusting exchange. It's full of wash trading. It's purposeful ADLs at the wrong time. I mean, I could go into how badly operated of an exchange it is, but again, my point is that when you come to CZ, Binance, whatever Binance is, because there isn't a Binance, okay, whatever fucking smoke and mirrors corporate organization that they've set up, okay, is unverifiable, can never be verified, and is bad for the space. And if that means Bitcoin goes to $500 at close, bring it on. Better now than in the future.
Yeah, you'd like to get that over with and have it just all be done with, so we don't have to deal with it.
I don't believe
capitulation moment, full capitulation. I have no problem with that.
Besides besides BitMEX, are there exchanges in the space that you think are more credible in terms of the things?
Kraken lead the way ahead of BitMEX in terms of proof reserves. Again, to be clear, I'm not recommending any exchanges to anybody. Yeah, I trade on BitMEX for edge. Again, history. BitMEX settled with the CFTC a few years ago, so they're probably above and beyond any further serious regulatory issues. So again, for me, it's for the way I trade, one of the safest trading venues. DYOR, do not put your money on BitMEX, on my word. But Kraken, Bitstamp, even the scammers in Coinbase are probably safe in my opinion. But Binance, 62 billion. The fact that the way they've gone around this is so shady, trust me, bro, stuff, that you've got to question why.
Yeah, the lack of transparency on the liabilities is hugely problematic.
Why are you do something so fucked up? Why would you even conduct that exercise?
Yeah,
maybe because there's enough idiots in the space, it will convince the idiots. I don't know. Do I think Binance is insolvent? Personally, no, because I look at other metrics and I go, doesn't look insolvent to me. But again, verify, don't trust. And I'm not in a position to verify, and they're giving me nothing to verify. And CZ has a long history of bad acting in the space. And he's no hero to the space. He's a grifter. The sooner he's gone, the better. That's it. And this has nothing to do with FTX or Sam. I don't know if he's on the scale of badness of Sam, but he's in the same ballpark for me.
In terms of that comparison, I don't want to do whatabouts really here, but in terms of that comparison, would you think that that Binance has done things like commingle funds, move funds out of customer accounts and into investments that they do in their venture fund?
Dude, I've no idea. Here's the thing.
I mean your personal opinion of the capability. Do you think that's something that he would do? I guess is what I'm asking.
I'm quite happy to face the slander charges on things.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm not going to say that he's done that. What I will say, however, is that he did use his own private money, BNB, which somebody wants to see how price is manipulated. They should just look at the BNB chart and dig into it. But again, that's quite provable. And instead of having a proper insurance fund in his exchange, he decided to lob, I don't know, $400 million of his worthless shitcoin, manipulated private money into it, and is still operating an exchange that is 30% insured relative to open interest. It's just not like this stuff is so basic. Yeah.
Look, there is I don't think there's anything to argue.
I think a subpoena's coming in. Oh no, hang on, that's not.
There's a knock at the door already.
Yeah.
Shaun moves back up to the mountains.
Where is XBT?
Yeah.
No XBT here. No XBT here.
Look,
I think this altruism thing, dude. Like buying influence in media. That's all that is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Going, I'm giving away 99% of my wealth. Like, please. Yeah. Like the SPF and the unknown corporate structure. I think a corporate structure, I think Reuters did an article on it about how it's just a fucking quagmire of smoke and mirrors. And again, there is no Binance, or if there is, Mazars couldn't find it. Yeah, they just said, there's 62 billion of Bitcoin. Or whatever.
Yeah, Mazars was just asked to look at wallets. Yeah. They were engaged to not do anything else.
Which entities are holding those?
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And that's actually, to me, that argument of who's actually holding that is a really compelling argument, right? Because if it's not the entity where the customers are depositing their funds, then it's irrelevant how much they have in those cold wallets, right? And if there's no entity, it's even more of a nightmare. So
again, I personally don't think. I think that their liabilities are probably less than that. I can't accuse them of, other than the obvious scam of using BNB as a large part of their insurance fund, which is just ridiculous. That I'm not going to accuse them of something that I don't know they've done. But what I am going to say is the whole thing is a consistent pattern of obfuscation and bullshit. And those people who think that CZ has done good for the space or are just disconnected from reality in a very real way.
All right. I think you've made a compelling argument, Shaun.
Yeah, look, I know that, because whenever you go after CZ in this space, you pick up a lot of shit. I'm here, like, come and give me the shit. I'm quite happy to argue my case. And if I'm wrong, after I give my entire stack to Binance and CZ in court, I'll say sorry. But I'm not. But
you know what the best part is? If they do show up court, then you can motion to have all those companies identified on the liability side.
Yeah. Yeah,
so exactly. They're not going to show.
They're never going to do anything.
I'm also just quoting again. I'm not in the camp that I think Binance is going to go under. So I do think that they'll get shut down by U.S. authorities. My views on that are don't matter. Again, when you come to the sanctions thing, not to reignite that debate, although it's always entertaining watching you guys fight. My view is very simple: is you can't sanction a country without hurting most of the individuals. Don't believe in it. My views are irrelevant. I don't get to control sanctions. But again, there's the level of evasiveness, obfuscation, direct lies, and pure fucking manipulation is historical record. Now, if you want to make this guy your hero or in some way claim that he's done good for the space, I just can't agree with you, because there's zero evidence to back that up. None.
Yeah, I've got nothing in hand that I can point to after this. Well, I think from the perspective of having an engine of trade with the volume that it has, not necessarily a positive for the space, but certainly has kept things afloat to some extent. But at the end of the day,
if you want to go into how bad their exchange is, I could spend 3 hours. I won't. Okay. Like, as an exchange to trade, as a trading venue, it is, in my opinion, the worst trading venue, full stop, out there. Literally the worst. The reason, and again, if you go back to the history of how did Binance become this, it became this because during the great shitcoin run of 2017, 2018, BitREx couldn't onboard enough customers. In fact, I remember BitREx accounts, you could buy them. It was so, they couldn't open that. And Binance, and again, I look at that respect for the play, dude, yeah. But maybe you could have taken all these billions of dollars of money that you pulled out of thin air and actually built a proper exchange. This thing, as an exchange, dude, it's horrific. If you dig beneath the skin, like, the number of people who get ADLs for no reason, okay, it's beyond horrific. It's an awful trading experience. I don't trade there. People trade there because it's going to be the first place to list the next shitcoin. Whatever. Yeah.
I used to trade there until they started, really demanding KYC about a year ago. And I just like that. I mean, I had a big run up there on a very little amount of money. And all of a sudden, Brad and I was always sweating bullets with Brad. I'm like, I got to get this shit. I was like, how much are you leaving over there? He's like, not that much. And I'm like, I'm up in like, 5 figures. And I'm like sitting there going, man, this is making me sweat. It's like, and eventually I was just dying waiting for the whole thing to bottom out. And so I eventually just liquidated everything and moved it all off because it was making me too nervous.
I don't personally know anybody who's ever had any trouble taking funds off Binance. These are not my criticisms, yeah. But I still got fundamentally, you had a shot to clean up this question. You took an approach that anybody with a brain in the space would have gone, we shouldn't do this. This is clearly stupid, a stupid method of doing this. And I have to question why.
Yeah.
Why did something? Why, like,
yeah. It's hard not to argue that he's.
The only way I can rationalize it is going, look, we've got a lot of money. Don't worry about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably it right there. Because everybody sees 62B and goes, oh my God, that's bigger than Twitter. And it's like, you feel like this cushion.
That's the marketing message. The only other thing I can think of is that their accounting is such a friggin' mess that they can't get their shit together to figure out what their liabilities are.
The liabilities are all on chain. Again, if you look at, not to shill BitMEX again, they did proof of liabilities. That's all based on chain. Yeah, the deposits appear on chain. Even if you're buying with fiat, it ultimately has to end up with an on-chain interaction. Yeah, liabilities are not complicated to do.
Well, liabilities for deposits aren't complicated. Liabilities for outside debt, outside issues are.
Again, if you see, like, CZ is no fool. He can just go, like, and nobody. Again, customer deposit. We've got 62 billion in
that should be already disclosed.
Yeah. And in customer wallets, we've got 61 billion. Fucking lovely. Thank you. End of story. Again, I personally don't believe that they're insolvent, but I think they're playing games. And trust me, bro. Come on, please. No, with your history, no. With any, I don't care. I don't care if you're the Pope. I'm still not trusting you. Yeah?
Shizzy says. Yeah, Shizzy says over the last year, CZ is completely wrong about holding your own keys. Over the last 10 years, he was probably right. I guess what Shizzy's saying is most recent history would say everybody should hold their own keys. And I would agree with that unless you're trading actively. We've had plenty of examples recently. Euphoric says,
I can go back to the old stuff because I think I lost. Trying to figure out probably about 30k Bitcoin from way back in the day. Yeah. Wow. And the reason I lost it is it wasn't valuable. I didn't give a shit. Yeah.
Right.
So there's a lot of history there. And again, people like me who got involved donating computer power, and we're kind of like, what's the fucking point of this $150 worth of Bitcoin, which is about 30k Bitcoin? So I'll just delete the keys and move on with my life. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of that happened. When Bitcoin got over $1,000, I don't think much of that happens anymore.
Yeah, exactly. No, that makes sense. Euphoric said after CZ visited London, he called Matt Hancock a crypto expert, so he must be trustworthy. I have no idea the reference there, so I don't know.
Who is Matt? Tell us, what's Matt Hancock?
UK Health Secretary, I believe. Let's just say a shady politician. Okay.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Meng Wanzhou engaged in evading Iranian sanctions with Huawei, and the charges are currently being dropped. No reason why CZ would see harsher consequences. Well, depends on who's charging him, but
and also it's who Meng's dad is head of Huawei, and so very connected into CCP, and she was under house arrest, I think, in Canada for almost 2 years over this thing, and it was because of selling 5G equipment to Iran, if I'm not mistaken. So that's where they put the hammer down. But she's out. I mean, I think this is a little different because that was
a trade deal too.
Yeah, exactly. This is more about I don't want to say money laundering and stuff like that, but it's pretty easy to see the SBF charge sheet. I mean, one wire email with fake stuff in it is a 10-year sentence, basically. Yep. So, when you got the financial stuff, it's easy to just throw the book at these people. But the Meng one's a little more national security-ish.
Yeah, tricky. And also, like, even on just the basics of allowing US customers to trade back in the day, I mean, that's, BitMEX went through this. They paid their fine, they moved on, and, the founders got, I don't know, house arrest or whatever for a few years. So, I mean, if we take a level of consistency from US authority. I think it was the CFTC prosecuted that. Like, that's just the starter of the starter for what Binance have done. So this doesn't, my point is that this doesn't end well for CZ. We shouldn't bemoan that. We shouldn't be going around going, oh my God, when he does get locked up, it's all over. It's not. It's good. Yeah, wash these grifters out of the space. They should all, you know, and nobody, no one person, no one exchange, you know, should have that level of influence. No, particularly not when they're a bad actor.
Makes sense. Makes absolute sense. Susie says, so you're saying Binance should buy FTX's UI and UX?
which was like, again, I hate both, but like, you know, I'm an old dog, man. You know, I mean, once I get used to a UX, I was trialing the new MEX UX, and I contacted the sport and said, look, it made me vomit. Please don't do it. So all change is bad in my world. Yeah. So.
That's funny. That's funny.
That is funny.
I think that's fantastic, Shaun. Thanks for summarizing the case. The case of Shaun versus CZ and Binance.
Well, we know CZ wins in the end.
Well, not necessarily. Look, I think you're right that there are a list of regulatory violations alone that could potentially put him in jail, under house arrest, big fines, whatever. And so I think you're probably right about that. I think he will be treated differently than the largest banks in the world would be treated by regulators in the United States. That they get a fine and a slap on the wrist and nobody goes to jail for as bad or worse offenses. But this is not a whataboutism. This is that the risk here is that there's more to this, and that there are more crimes, and that there will be nobody left at Binance because they're all in prison. So it's going to be.
And again, my comment on that is, what is Binance?
Yeah, of course.
To me, it just
it's a MetaMask account.
Well, I mean, there are supposedly a few thousand people working there and getting paid by something or someone somehow. So I think that'd be the best tracking mechanism to figure out where the fuck it is and how it functions.
Again, Reuters did a breakdown on how they explicitly designed their corporate structure to obfuscate and to hide and so on. And again, my fundamental point in all of this is that this is not what the space is about. Yeah, don't trust, verify. Fundamental, an absolute fundamental in the space. And when you see somebody like CZ pulling this proof of reserve stunt knowingly, you've got to ask yourself, what are they thinking when they're doing this?
Yeah, what are they?
Why are they doing it this way? Yeah, there is no reason for this to be done this way. And with somebody with the history of, again, working with the FSB, blah-de, all the stuff with Iran, whatever, however libertarian you are and you think that's okay, the point is it's still a long list of trouble. There is no... Everybody always say to me, he's been a great positive space. And I'm going, just give me one example, please. Anybody. What's he done positive for the space? And I'm going to tell you, I don't think he's done anything positive for the space ever. Full stop.
All right. Well, look, ultimately, we're not going to get to where it needs to be until there are no centralized exchanges, right?
Yeah. I mean, like, all of this is transitionary. I mean, what's a better world? A better world is where we get the speed, performance, and so on a DEX. That isn't out there. Better world when we do. But it's not there yet. So if you want to trade, and you guys know I'm a very active trader, then, we end up with people with influence. And CZ is not somebody to trust, in my opinion.
That has been made crystal clear.
Did that point come across somewhere?
Yeah, I think you summed it up lovely. We weren't sure until the last 5 minutes, but no, I think we
it's all that candy coating you do, man. We want to hear what you really think.
I'm gonna buy a new fucking chair. My chair is
if I told you what I really think, Binance would be kicking in the door behind me there.
Yeah, well, we could read between the lines on what you really think. No, I don't. if he would just get right, get compliance, then, I mean, look, they've been talking, I've been hearing this market chatter about Binance for 4 years now in the DC sort of circles. And I would be very surprised if they don't pull the trigger right now, just because of just the fury. I mean, it's of course, it's hysterical fury watching like Bloomberg and The Hill, and what they're bitching about and arguing about is, it's about like so far away from the real reality of the space. It's just theater. But at the same time, it is what it is. So, I think you could say, I'm not doing anything in the US. I'll pay a fine for everything in the past. And I'm here now and I'm going to do this, if that's your tack. Or you could say, I'm going to conform with all the regulation. And he can't really do that. So, the question is,
I don't think he'll ever get past the FSB, Iran, North Korea.
True. That sinks him. I mean, they must have done something with the Tornado Cash thing to see that stuff was routing in and out of Binance, going into there and coming back out, because that's the North Korea piece. So they know a lot, whoever the regulators are. I mean, I think a lot of people are going to look at this.
I'd be quite happy to take a bet that CZ is in U.S. custody at some point next year.
Okay.
All right. Let's put that on the prediction market. That'd be fun.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
I'd definitely try a few bucks at that.
Doesn't Binance have some kind of prediction market over there? You know what I was...
That would be too sweet to do it there.
Instead of ETH up and ETH down, it could be CZ up, CZ down. We could be buying tokens. It was funny. The other thing that they're exposed to is, remember like last year or the year before, they were doing those synthetic stock tokens for a while. They had Tesla up and they had another equity. And people were buying and trading synthetic versions of that. And they shut it down because obviously, the regulators are coming at that point. So they got that exposure, but I've been thinking about Tesla lately just for shorting. And I was like, damn, I wish they still had those synthetics over there. And then I was like, damn, I wish I could still go there. But I'm always in and out, or I used to be. I used to be in and out, I don't hang around there.
Shaun, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you. I appreciate your point of view. And I appreciate that you really actually are coming from a place of being concerned about the ecosystem. You're not just a grumpy old man pissed at CZ.
But I'm also a grumpy old man, Brad.
Grumpy middle-aged man,
Middle-aged. Yeah, you're definitely not old. So appreciate you doing it. Appreciate you coming on. We'll see you. Wait, what date is next Thursday? Are we running up on Christmas here? Oh no, 22nd.
Not quite yet.
Hopefully we'll see you next Thursday. I will be live from Georgia next Thursday. So and that is not in the former Soviet Union. I appreciate you being on. Thank you, Shizzy, Niblets, Euphoric, Amen. I believe that's the gang. Shizzy says, great show, guys. Thank you. Thank you for listening and participating, Shizzy. Appreciate everybody, and hope everyone has a great evening. Joe, I'll see you tomorrow.
Absolutely, buddy. Thanks, John, man. Drink a Guinness for us and go plant some trees, all right?
I'm going to go and do the first one right away.
Awesome. Bravo. All right, Brad.
Thanks, buddy. Have a good
one. Thanks, Brad. Cheers.
Hey, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.